The main the main concern with the policy, we want to make sure that we know where people are going. We know that things can happen at any time. I actually received a phone call this morning. The reporter was interested in knowing, do we have anyone in Nepal because of the earthquake? And fortunately, based on our travel registry, we do not have anyone in Nepal at the moment. We also know that things, as I said, things can happen anywhere at any time. We're not asking you to register your travel if you go to Baltimore, but that's an example that regardless of where you're going, there is no location that is immune from, let's say, safety or health issues. So we just want to know so we can help people in the event that there is a crisis, in the event that we have to work on medical evacuation, repatriation of remains, those sorts of things. There were about 52 action items to implement this policy. So I'd like to thank the Study Abroad team for making this possible. If you've visited our website, you'll notice there's new pages, new resources available for travelers to review, and particularly for faculty who are leading groups abroad. There's actually more resources on the way, fancy interactive, I'll call it, budget proposal form that has formulas embedded and hover over instructions, and that's going to make its debut very soon. So really our goal here today is to talk about the policy, talk about some of the resources available, some considerations, and we want to help you to be in compliance with this policy, and all of your travelers as well. Then the last piece along with this is we are wanting all of our international travel in Montana State to align with national standards. So we've recently joined a group called the Forum on Education Abroad, which is a standards organization in our field. And we feel that we will not just be aligned with national standards, but hopefully we can be an institution that others will look towards and aspire to model their programs after. So that's the overview of the travel policy, and now we will go ahead and get started.
So we're going to talk about forms that are required, emergency preparedness, incident reporting, dismissing students, and then also insurance coverage. And this is really critical. For example, the basketball team, making sure your students have extra insurance coverage to cover them where they're there is really key. Then we're going to talk about our responsibilities to you, so you guys know what you can expect from us, and also why you're abroad, and then some question and answer.
So what I want to talk about is these different requirements and where you can find them, because that wouldn't be very helpful if I didn't show you where they are, right? So the first two here I'm going to kind of highlight today is the International Travel Plan and the Emergency Communications Plan. Now, most of you guys planning your programs that have already got the logistics, the details, a lot of your student information. A lot of this is just plugging that information into one cohesive form that we can have on file so that we know where you are, when you're going to be there, and how to contact you in case of an emergency. Okay, so it's information for us. It's also a helpful worksheet for you, so you have a nice hard copy of all those really important details when you go abroad. Okay, so the International Travel Plan, again, is the details of your travel, the itinerary, where you're staying, how we can contact you. Okay, Emergency Communication Plan is, if there was an emergency, where's the nearest embassy where you're going, right? Where's the meeting points that you would have students meet you at, so that we would know where to find you and how to get a hold of you. Okay, so on the second page of your packet, there's a description of forms sheet that I put in there with links. And the top link is where you can find these two fillable PDFs. So if you look at our Study Abroad website here, go to the main page, Study Abroad, big colorful picture. On the left, there's a link that says International Travel Policy Resources. So that is your friend right there. So you'll click that. Okay. And down here, obviously, these are all the different types of international travel that could happen, but you guys are all falling under the category of group travel, right? Because you're leading groups abroad. So this is really self-explanatory. It goes through and talks about what's required as per the policy. And like I said, today we're focusing on this communication plan here and the detailed itinerary. Those two pieces I would love to have on file for you so I can help, Susan can help, David can help if anything happens, so we know how to get a hold of you. So I'll show you what it looks like, just to give you an example. Here it is. You can type in there. You can save it and you can send it to me. You can even copy paste, so it's really great. So at the end, you'll go ahead and fill this out and then send it to me so I can have it on file. I'll show you where I'm going to upload this for you as well. Okay, so that's the emergency communication. Again, detailed itinerary, where you're going to be, how can we contact you? Are you checking your email, right? Can we email you and get some correspondence with you that way? So again, these are pretty basic, just bare bones. How can we get a hold of you while you're abroad and make sure that your trip is safe and we got your back? Okay, that's really the most important piece with that. So the other thing that's on here, and David just kind of touched on it, was the travel registry. And I love this because what I can do is do a locator search on any country between any dates. So I can look up Rome, for instance, between April 5th and May 5th and see every student or any faculty that is there. And that's the point of the travel registry, is that we can have quick access to all that information for every student or faculty. It asks for your passport, so if you lose your passport, we got it for you. We can work with the embassy to get your passport renewed, anything like that. So really, again, it's preventative maintenance for things that can go wrong. So the more prevention, hopefully the smoother the trip will go. So if we look back at our favorite page here, the travel resource page, we can go down here and there's a link for the International Travel Policy, or Travel Registry. So click that, it'll take you to this page here. Register your travel, okay? You'll make a kind of a profile through this. You'll fill out emergency contact for you as a faculty, who we can contact if you get hurt or injured or something goes wrong, which it has in the past, and this is really nice to have available to us in the event that that happens, which it won't, right? So within this, also you upload your passport, your insurance cards if something goes wrong. We have a copy of your insurance card, so we can help with that, which is definitely something we don't always think about, right? So this is required for all students and faculty, okay? I know, like I said, again, we have some programs that are being facilitated through your department or basketball team or whatever that looks like. So we don't have complete paperwork files for all those students because it hasn't been done through OIP. But this is the easiest way that we can keep track of your students, okay? So make sure in your pre-departure meetings that you're having before you go, make this an action item at your meeting with your students. Just sit down and bust it out. It takes about 5 minutes.
Did you go over that with them at that long meeting?
At the what?
At the long meeting you have with the students?
At the orientation with students?
Yeah.
Yes, this was part of the
So they know.
the communicated requirement. Yeah, and I keep emailing all students. They love me right now to remind them to do this. Okay. So the next piece here. Again, I know we're probably 2 weeks out for some of you guys, so ignore the dates right now, the 60 days out, 30 days out, but keep that in your mind for next year as you're planning your programs, okay? For this year though, the second registration that we highly, highly recommend, we can't really track this one, but has anybody ever registered with the State Department, done their travel? Awesome, all right? Really great. Again, if you lose your passport, we can work really easily with the embassy if you're already registered with them, okay? Something like that. So registering in the State Department Smart Traveler Enrollment Program is definitely highly recommended. And it's a good habit to have on your own if you're going to travel, and regardless of MSU, to get in that habit of registering your travel. Okay? You could literally Google that and have all the students at your pre-departure meeting do that as well, students and faculty. Okay? Is there any questions on the registries? I just want to make sure this is clear because this is definitely one of those things we really need everybody to do.
Well, I have a question. One of our coaches has been filling all this out for everybody, so I'm not sure where we're at with it. That's my biggest concern, and our trainer has all insurance cards of our student athletes.
I think I might have received a packet from you of that. What we can do, if you guys would submit, if you're kind of like, I don't know who's done it, or I've instructed people, if you submit your student list to us, at least we know who's all going on your program, I can do a locator search and eliminate, and send you back like, this person needs to do it. But I would need a list of students from you so I can do that.
We got a packet just this afternoon.
Yeah,
But we haven't had time to review it, but
Okay.
yeah, I did drop it off this afternoon.
Yeah. Anything digital is great though, because then it's quick access, right? That's what's good. So, and then the last thing we're going to talk about, Susan's going to mention this in a sec, but the emergency contact list. Again, we have, once students and you guys do the registry, we have one emergency contact on file for the student and for you. Okay, but again, emergency contact list, definitely a nice thing to have when things go wrong, which it has. And it's a pain to try to track down somebody that you can't find it after 3 days of emergency happening. So definitely want to avoid that. So emergency contact list to take with you abroad should be a requirement for your program and just for you to have.
And those of you that have been working with Sarah closely, she's giving you each individual packet, so you have those emergency contact lists. But for example, for your teammates, making sure that you have them if you don't already have that for your team. And I would encourage you to get 2 contacts for students. We've had some serious issues where we can't get in contact with their one emergency contact, and that's the worst feeling ever. You know, because mom's out of cell phone range or something happens. And you have to remember that it's not just something that could happen with you or your students that's abroad, but something can happen to somebody they love here, right? First time I went abroad, I'll never forget, I was 17, I was going for a year, and it was before cell phones, I'm gonna age myself, and internet and everything else. And the hardest conversation I had to have with my parents at orientation was what happened when somebody died, and what happened if my parents died, and what happened if my siblings died, and what happens, what we were gonna do, what was our plan. So that's why we have this emergency contact. It's not a conversation people want to have, but unfortunately, we never plan when these things are gonna happen. So that's the whole just so you guys have that feeling and that you're going as a leader with that information and you aren't scrambling, to find it. And we are here, we'll be here for the duration of the year and we'll help facilitate. So I just want to make sure that's clear too. And we will actually have that, because that's the other thing, we want to take paper copies because we know that we love technology, but it doesn't always come through for us, right? Especially where some people are going. So making sure that you have that as a group leader at all times with you too for your students.
So just to recap, these things you can find on the International Travel Resource page through our Study Abroad website, okay? If you get really lost, then you can email me and I'll send it to you, but go there first because it's all detailed for you. In terms of dismissal, what happens if you need to send a student home? Okay?
Okay. This is really important, and especially for everyone in this group, because you never know if you're gonna need to send a student home. And this is a document that has been vetted through Chief Legal Counsel. It's in your packet. You'll see it, it's on the bottom, it's a white page, okay? There are instructions for faculty on the one side, and then on the reverse side is actually a document that your students should, I encourage you to have your students sign, right? And this is giving them understanding expectations, and it's outlining expectations for them, which is really, really critical so that they know this. And I encourage everyone to have students sign this, because even good ones can make bad decisions. Okay, what we know is study abroad, and data shows us not just of students, but of all age brackets, that people engage in risky behavior when they're abroad. It's like, live in the moment, live it, do it. So you just don't know. So you want to make sure that you are having participants sign this. Okay, if you get to a point where you need to dismiss a student, you know, when they're here with their student code of conduct, they do have the opportunity to tell their side of the story, right? So we want to make sure that you aren't just dismissing them without engaging with MSU and interfacing with us. So if you're feeling like that, then please contact our office, and we'll make sure we involve Dean of Students Office and legal counsel, and they want to make sure that they're aware of it. Okay, but this form again is a vetted form. I encourage you all to use it. And really think about it, because it does happen. Statistically, it'll happen this summer.
This was a case last year. We had a student dismissed from one of our programs in Morocco. And it was not fun, and it was messy, and there's a lot of legal repercussions that could come with that. So we want to make sure that we have this agreement made with our students before you go. It's always a good preventative maintenance, right? All right.
Sarah,
Yes,
yesterday you gave students something like this that they signed.
That was it.
Is that it? Okay. So
all
it's-
OIP, I am the paperwork police, so I like to go around and collect these things. So all of the OIP programs have been collected for that. Yes.
Okay, so we don't need to do this with our students, and
No.
you've done it already.
You were, okay, good, that's good. You've already had that, so it's
So
good.
just to recap really quick, the required documents that we need from you for the travel policy, travel resource page. Any forms that you need while you're abroad to document incidents or if something happens, summer programs page. Okay, both of those links are in that packet for you. And like I said, if you need to print some off, take with you because you're going to be in a remote area, go ahead and do that. And you can always, we'll get it from you somehow, right? So, yes.
Ask for clarification
Sure.
on the dismissal
Mhm.
procedure. Like if you've got a student that you're gonna have to dismiss, at that point, when you dismiss them, they're done, right? I mean, you can let them go on their own. Okay.
And no, taking them to the airport. Somebody asked me that, well, would I take them to the airport? I said, no, they're disrupting the trip. They're dismissed, effective immediately, and they have to change their ticket, and they are responsible for all of that. It's kind of like kicking somebody out of campus. You don't then let them back into one class, right? So that's why before you get to that point, you want to make sure you're engaging so that we can follow.
Any questions?
Any questions?
What happened in Morocco?
We can't tell you, it's confidential.
It's an issue. A big one, so. Alrighty.
All right, ISET cards. This is one of the things that is really, really critical. And like, for example, your students, your players already have their insurance. But what we found with MSU students is they register for classes and they check a box saying, every time you register, the students can agree with me, yes, I have insurance, but that doesn't mean that they all have it. Okay, nobody's actually checking it. All right, and also what's happening is it doesn't necessarily set the standard. Right? You have an insurance coverage here that may not mean that you have any providers internationally, right? And I love students, but we aren't always the best about checking those kinds of things, right? Until you're in the moment. So one of the things that our office does is we actually issue international student identification cards. And as faculty, we also offer faculty and staff student identification cards. And this carries some supplemental insurance coverage. Okay, it's a $25 card, and it's a really quick form that students submit in our office. You can also do it with a photo, and we issue it in-house. But then if something does happen, and I have to tell you, based on personal experience here at Montana State, it was literally a huge saver for that family that lost their son abroad. Because I was able to get his remains back, they didn't have to go into personal insurance, I was able to help facilitate that, because we documented coverage, and the student had an international student identification card. Okay, so it's it's $25, it's good for a year, but I would encourage you to be thinking about some things like that if you haven't already. For those trips going through international programs, it's already included. You know, on the travel resource page, we've also listed other insurance providers, because this doesn't meet industry standard. Okay, it's actually got just minimal coverage. And so we offer some others in case you have students or travelers that are not insurance or don't have insurance, even though they say they do, that they can purchase. It's really affordable, usually not more than $60 a month for the duration that they're abroad. That would cover some of those things like repatriation of remains or evacuation. Okay. Any questions last time? Missed it.
So if we want that, we need the pictures, we come to you to get.
Yes, as faculty and as group leaders, yes. Mhm.
Is it $25 for us too?
It is.
Okay.
Mhm. That's a standard issue price. We aren't making money on that.
Is there a form to fill out or just get the pictures?
No, there's a form as well. It's quick. Mhm.
Okay.
And you can email Sarah and she'll send that to you if you want. The other thing that we do, and I think this is really important and kind of a change too, is that moving forward, we've learned a lot this year with this policy. Those of you that are working with third-party providers, and if you are facilitating a contract over $25,000 of state funds and it's leaving the institution, you have to go through procurement. So some of those just questions about who signs what, if you're doing contracts, contracted services, if you're an unaffiliated traveler, what's the procedure if you know, hiring somebody special just to come in and teach part of the class, or somebody's going to be interfacing with students, you know, make sure you're directing those questions to us, because this policy is pretty fine-tuned. Okay, so there's a lot of things that we'll do. The other thing that we'll do, and I think this is really important, who knows what our 24/7 emergency number is for all of you? Does anybody know? If emergency happens, it's not usually going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning when I'm getting to work.
21?
Yes, it is campus police. So that number is 406-994-2121. Okay, and that's really, really critical. You can also give that to, you know, parents are thinking they have our entire phone tree, but that's the current number for Montana State University Emergency Response. I think that
01 in front of them?
yes, when you're calling internationally, yes. It's actually 001 406-994-2121. Program that in. Make sure too you have student participants that know that, right? So they know, so it's a first part of contact.